Hello. Okay, today we are talking to the parents of piano students. So if you've got kids in piano, this is for you. We're going to talk about 5 things that you can do to really help support and promote your kids in piano lessons. And there's some things you shouldn't do. Let's just get started. First thing, number 1, um, don't be mistaken. You do not need to read music. Let me tell you a story. When we went online, remember when COVID shut everything down and my studio, like a lot of other piano studios out there, had to go online. I had one mom in a panic because she told me, I don't know music. I never learned music. I can't read music. There's nothing I can do to help her. I mean, she was flustered. And, um, you don't have to know how to read music. That's the teacher's job. And my job is to teach the kids to do that, whether the parent knows that or not. So don't worry. You do not need to know it. Just rest assured. There's a flip side to that. If you do know how to read music, you don't need to teach the kids. If you can teach your own kids, more power to you. Don't put them in lessons. You don't need another teacher. If you're able to do it, just do it. Let me tell you another story. This was like 20 years ago. I had 2 boys, brothers. Um, their mom knew how to read music. I mean, she didn't really tell me that before, but I came to find out. She called me one day very upset. She said she felt like I was not teaching her boys anything because as soon as they came home, she had to teach them all the songs. And I was taken off guard because from my perspective, I sent the boys home with their lesson. They came back every week. Perfect. We passed it off. What that tells me, they understand everything we did in the lesson and we're ready to move on. So if you're a parent and you know how to read music, let the kids make some mistakes because when they come to the teacher, it'd be really helpful for me to see what they're getting wrong. That way I know what they don't know and I can create things and construct the lessons in a way that I can fill in all those gaps. So if you interfere too much, it's kind of tying the hands of the piano teacher. You're not getting what you're paying for. You're doing it yourself. So that's 2 sides. You don't have to know, and it's okay if you do know how to read music. You just might need to be careful to just step back. What your job is, and here's the first thing, get them on the bench. As a parent, that is your role at home. Get them on the bench. And what that means, the piano bench. They need to be practicing. So your job is kind of dealing with the environment at home, making sure that they are practicing. Now here's some different ways that you can do that. Here's the second thing. Set it up on a schedule. I did a poll among my students and I picked like my most successful students, the students that were the most prepared every week and were progressing quickly. And I asked the parents, and I did this often. I would take different polls for different topics. Well, I asked the parents what they did to practice. How did they get the kids to practice? And they had different techniques. Some did different charts, some did different rewards, but all of them said it was part of the schedule. Just like their homework, their reading time, their jobs, practicing was on the schedule. So I'll give you a little hint. Put it on the schedule, but put it on as early in the day as possible. Before school would be awesome. There's something magic about that. When it's done early, they have more energy for it, and it's not looming over them for the rest of the day, and it becomes something they don't want to do. Whereas if they get it done early, it's easy, it's done, and ta-da, it's not looming over them. And I've had moms that thanked me so much for that bit of advice because it really works. Okay, so another thing about setting it on a schedule, another little story. I was doing a coaching call with one of my students and her dad. And I wanted to show her, I was praising her for all the things that she had been accomplishing. We were taking a look at, wow, look at this, and you're learning this, and you're really learning patience, and you're learning discipline, and you're learning all the things that she was learning other than just the keys. And I pulled up the practice app on one of my screens and I shared it with her. And I showed her through all my students, she was the only one that had practiced every single day for the past week. Didn't miss a single day. And it was a full time of practice. I could see on my app how much time they practice and each day they practice. Her dad was so excited. He jumped up out of his chair, left the camera. I didn't know where he went for a minute. Comes back with this long chart thing they had on the fridge. They had made for her a checkoff chart for the month. And at the end, if she practices every day for the month, there was some kind of surprise. She doesn't even know. It's a surprise. So you know your kids. You know what would motivate them. You know what would be a fun surprise. And I'm okay with a little external reward system because until they develop that habit, we need to do things to get them to have that habit. And as they mature, they'll get more rewards intrinsically, like they'll get more satisfied of learning something and doing well and passing things off become more of their own rewards. That's not quite the case when they're little and as they're learning. So I'm totally okay with charts and tracking and rewards. Okay, third thing, you as the parent should know their assignments every week. Sometimes, like myself, I have a practice app that goes home and all my parents have access to just click in there with the password and see the assignments and the notes and everything. A lot of teachers might send home a physical notebook or an email or something. There should be something coming home. If something comes home, make sure you read it and know what the kids are supposed to practice because that's going to be huge for a little accountability at home. Okay. Fourth thing, reinforce their progress. Here's the thing about learning something, and as adults, we notice it's always hard. The reason it's always hard is as they get better, say they come to their lesson and they pass off their song. Great, that was wonderful. What do they immediately get? A new song that's harder. So then they practice and practice and practice and get that passed off. And what do they get? A new song that's harder. So if things aren't difficult, they're not growing. So any long-term skill that we develop takes patience. And sometimes we forget that we're making progress because it feels hard all the time. So acknowledge when they pass off a book. That's huge. A song they pass off. Be sure a high five. We could have a chart on the fridge for that, all their successes. So acknowledge when they do something well or get something passed off. Also, it's good to look back and remind them. Let's go back and see how easy your songs were in the book before this one. See how far you've come? That has a lot of value. Okay, last thing, fifth thing, performance opportunities. It really boosts their esteem and their appreciation for their skill when they can perform in front of people. And it might be scary at first. It is. And that doesn't always go away, but a teacher will help them learn how to deal with that. Teachers usually offer recitals. If there are recital opportunities, make sure your kids are in every single one they can possibly be in. If there are not recitals offered from your teacher, set something up on your own. You could go into the community, play in lobbies like in hotels, or a hospital has a lobby sometimes with a piano, senior care centers, or just family get-togethers. So there's lots of places that you can have them perform. Another great thing to do as far as performing, have them perform for you and record it about every 6 months. And then you can put those recordings together and see their progression, and they can hear their progression too. All right, I hope you got something that you'll be able to implement and utilize and be a fabulous piano parent. Okay, see you later.